Hello and welcome to the Non-Pro Show, where we bring internet arguments into a convenient audio form. I am your host, Al. I am joined once again by Frank, James, and Kit.
Hello.
Hey.
It's nice to be back.
And we are here to talk to you about
too
things
early.
that we are so late to the party on. That's something Non-Pro is actually pretty famous for, is finally getting around to something that were, cultural icons or cornerstones of, media.
Because see, I was saying before we got in here, I wish I had a little bit more time, because one of the things that's on my list is Breaking Bad. So I am very late to that party, and that seems like a fun one to be late to the party on.
I still haven't joined that party either, actually. I have not. My mother just got done watching Breaking Bad. I haven't watched it at all.
Katie and I have also never seen Breaking Bad. And it's like one of those things that we're like, obviously we should have watched this, because it's kind of like the definition of early peak TV and this sort of like new way of, dark anti-hero sort of storytelling, which is no longer new.
It was the big seller for Netflix for a while, right?
Well, so AMC, it was an AMC show, and then so Frank, you also haven't seen Breaking Bad, because if you have, this ruins
I was about to say this is not going to be a Breaking Bad episode. We're talking a lot about Breaking Bad, and it is not coming up. No, I have also not seen Breaking Bad. I kind of want to see it as well. So, God, this is just a live production meeting now. We're not even. None of this is gonna happen. Yeah, no, I caught up with other things.
Like I said, Non-Pro, we are famously late to the party on so many cultural cornerstones.
But that is a show that is enough to be its own episode. So
maybe one day we'll get around to doing late to the party Breaking Bad with Non-Pro, like we did with Gravity Falls and Evangelion.
Right. But to be clear, this is not that.
Down the road,
and
sure.
if you've been listening for the last 3 minutes, it's not going to change. But there are other things we definitely need to be caught up on, and we're going to cover that. Oh.
So I'll start us off with what I watched that I am so late to the party on that I should have clearly watched like decades ago. And it is Keanu Reeves' classic Speed.
I'm so happy.
Never got around to watching this movie until like a few weeks ago.
That is very surprising.
I'm curious, have you guys watched or seen this movie? Or am I the only one that's come to watch this Keanu Reeves action classic? Like before there was Matrix, there was Keanu Reeves with his love interest on a bus in Speed.
See, the thing is, I admittedly have not watched it myself, but I have friends that have been talking about it nonstop. So I've been saving it for my post-cyberpunk, I want to watch this film because I know everything that happens. But it's just one of those beautiful things that I haven't gotten to yet.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. How did James? You've seen Speed, right?
Yeah. Speed's a classic, man. I feel like I've seen Speed ages ago.
I swear to you, if all three of you hadn't seen Speed, I would have rage quit this podcast. That is very odd. So why did you sit on it for so long? What were you do? When did Speed come out? 99? What was it?
1994.
94. Okay.
Yeah.
How old were you in 94?
Been in that. I was a kid, but I still would have been in that age range. So I would have definitely been in the age range to see this. In theaters or at home with the parents watching those classic action movies. I watched those Arnold movies, what was it, Cobra and all those other ones that he was just went around.
They're way more obscure.
Yeah.
This was a hit
and it's
movie.
Not
I can make the argument though. I was a year old when it came out, so I think it's fair that I didn't.
That's fair.
Yeah. James.
Yeah. So I think my thing is it's not like Speed is a movie that doesn't get a lot of play. You know what I mean? I feel like I remember watching Speed it was just on TV. A lot. It was a common movie. Fox had the license for a while. They'd play it on Fox on Saturday or on Sunday during their movie block. I'm surprised you never caught it on TV or anything like that. Yeah, I think my real question is, what did you think?
Before I say that, the commercials, the trailers on Fox to watch Speed periodically that showed up are definitely ingrained in my mind as something I remember vividly from childhood, just not the movie itself. So,
wow.
I remember those, but like I never actually watched the film. But what I thought of it, it was amazing. It was so good. Like way better than I ever would have thought to give it credit for, because I just assume there's a bomb on a bus. And like you've seen that joke so many times. Like everybody from like Family Guy to The Simpsons have made reference or jokes at its expense. And it's just like I expect it to be kind of a all right, whatever. It's going to be like an Arnie or like a Die Hard kind of knockoff movie. It's decidedly its own thing. And it is named Speed for a reason, as it starts and does not let up until the credits roll. Like something is always happening.
I need to interrupt here and say that I have an out-of-body experience, and I'm now somebody listening to this podcast and is just like outraged that you're like, Speed lives up to its name. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a good movie. It is a well-known good action movie. This is just this is weird. This is embarrassingly weird.
But that's why we're late to the party.
Yeah. This Keanu Reeves fella, he's got some chutzpah. Sandra Bullock, I'd like to see her in things.
I mean, yeah, Sandra Bullock is really great in this movie, but like hats off to Dennis Hopper, who is so good. Like the people talk about this movie in a lot of ways and a lot of the cool action beats and, you know, Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves, but Dennis Hopper puts in the performance of a lifetime, man.
Oh, yeah.
As the bad guy, he's just so wonderfully maniacal and just like, God, like really 110%. Like he's usually good in anything, like even in Waterworld to an extent. Like you can watch that movie and be like, oh, Dennis Hopper, he's in it, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Wow. Speed.
But just so good. And just as like putting our hero in bad situation after bad situation. Oh, it's just goddamn. He really sells the like, no, I deserve this money. When Keanu's like, you're insane. Listen, no. Poor people are insane. I'm rich. I'm just eccentric.
Yeah.
Like that. That's a great line, though.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome movie. I don't. Is there a particular reason why you finally dusted it off and watched it?
It was on HBO Max, and I never watched it before, and I was like going around looking at what movies were available on HBO Max. I just bought it, and mainly because I wanted to watch King Kong versus Godzilla. But like, what else can I use my HBO Max subscription for? Like, oh, Speed.
So many weird choices. So many weird choices.
And I will say, as soon as I was done with it, I was like, man, that was a really good movie. I gotta watch the sequel.
No. All right.
Then it's Speed on a boat.
It was on a boat. It was decidedly not the first movie. Sandra Bullock was in it. Keanu Reeves decidedly was not. And honestly, I don't think it would have saved the movie if he was. It would have made a few plot beats make a little bit more sense. Willem Dafoe is in it, and he's amazing. I mean, that was kind of a saving grace for the film. But it's a very weird film that didn't do what the first film did, which was like, no, we hit the ground running, we don't stop. It's a very slow movie, which for a movie titled Speed is very strange. Yeah. And it's an okay, decent knockoff action movie for a really good long time until they hit the boat crashing into the harbor scene, and every single joke or bit that you can get out of that situation, they do. Is there a dog that's running away from the boat? Yes. Is there a guy who parks his car in front of the boat? Yes. Is there a kid that notices the boat coming for his house? Yes. Do they hit the bell on the top of the church when they finally stop? Yes. And all of these scenes are telegraphed with 3 scenes leading up to them. And it's a very long, like 10-minute boat crash scene. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, I love when, like, first of all, this movie by default is later in the day than Speed, but I love when old-timey movies like have to set up something really hard for people to know it's coming. And apparently Speed 2 is one of those movies. That's great. I'm very happy that you have finally joined the rest of the world in watching the Speed franchise and being 50% enjoyed by it.
Yep. I mean, again, like it's a benchmark for Keanu Reeves' career for a reason, and like it is a absolutely fantastic action thriller. And I'm so sorry I haven't joined on it until just now.
All right, good. So I'm curious now about what other people are late to the party with, because I honestly thought there'd be more Tiger King and less, this famous movie, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Never seen it. Oh, James has something to say.
Yeah.
Well, so if you're going to go on famous movie, so I recently, I'm going to say it's a first time watch, because like it's definitely something that like we were like forced to watch in like film class or something, but I never really paid attention to. But we watched in preparation for David Fincher's Mank, I watched Citizen Kane.
I swear, I was gonna say if James says something ridiculous like Citizen Kane,
Yeah,
I'm gonna quit
you
this
got
podcast.
it.
Come on, come on. What is? Go on.
No, and I don't think we need to dwell on it. We can go on to a funner pick from me. But I was actually kind of shocked at how modern the film feels, particularly in like its storytelling and its scripting. That really surprised me. The characters don't feel old or out of place. They feel oddly like modern filmmaking, despite the film's age, which is really enjoyable. Like a lot that I didn't appreciate, when we were kind of like forced to watch it in film class. It was really good. Also on HBO Max. So.
All right, this seems oddly like an HBO Max branded content episode of Non-Productive, but I'm here for it.
I think that streaming services have really given us the reason to catch up on things we missed, because before it was always waiting for it to come on TV or like going to the Blockbuster to maybe rent a movie and like having to decide on it. And with like the newest of these streaming services, HBO Max, becoming available, like suddenly we get to catch up on a lot of the classics they might have a hold on. And hence why I put the Maltese Falcon in my queue, because I'm going to watch the Maltese Falcon because I've never seen that before, and I really want to. But like that's just the only reason I'm watching it is because it's on one of my streaming services.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I don't think any of the films, because I just thought of a trilogy that I could probably talk about. I don't think any of the ones that I've watched are on HBO Max. Yeah. But so Jennifer's Body, it's also kind of a partial rewatch in that I did initially see like a bit here and there of it when it first came out, or not when it first came out, when I was in early college, a little bit after it was out. But I was in kind of a horror snob phase where I wasn't into like a modern day kind of campy horror movie because I thought it was supposed to be taking itself seriously. So I was like, ugh, whatever. I'm not going to bother with this. Having sat and watched it like last week, it is campy. It's cheesy. It's kind of homoerotic. Like it's got this maybe lesbian love affair. And it really just kind of nails weird, mystical kind of horror movie, good gore, great teenage characters who are just vapid and ridiculous. I mean, it gets a little bit of everything.
I've heard such high praise of this movie. I think at the time there was like this really weird Megan Fox backlash that happened. I don't know, sometime around Transformers, probably because of Michael Bay.
Mostly
being
because
terrible.
of Transformers. So
regardless, there was a lot of weird people or maybe just told Poppy she was so popular, people were just jerks to her, and there was a lot of backlash at the time this movie came out. But since then, I've heard so much high praise about it, specifically about exactly as you say. There's like this campy element to it, but then there's like a higher read you could do of the movie that's very like progressive and interesting, and I can't wait to see it. But that's something I'm guilty of not having seen yet.
Because I don't want to spoil anything in that sense then, but Megan Fox is incredible in it because she plays this like your standard vapid millennial high school teenager, high school cheerleader, and she nails it. She's got that kind of like, she kind of has the slutty thing going for her, and her best friend is like the bookworm with like the soft, gentle boyfriend, and Jennifer's like out, like flirting with, the local cop and the bartender. Even though she's 18, she's getting free drinks. And her friend is like, wearing a cami and like, oh, am I being too salacious? But she wants to impress her best friend. And then weird shit happens. Jennifer ends up in a weird situation. And it's just kind of this snowball effect of everything falling apart in a way where like it could be read as just like a kind of like a Carrie. It could be real life, but then there's the mystical element situation.
It's like a coming of age story in a horror setting.
Yeah. But it's really, I feel like a lot of the praise is worthwhile because it's one of those films where when it came out, no one was ready for it to be as fun and silly as it was, especially with the blowback against Megan Fox. But nowadays, I hope it becomes a camp classic and stays that way because it is just a joy to watch.
Nice. Okay, I know you also liked Nightmare on Elm Street last time we spoke about odd, weird, surreal fiction. So you finally got a chance to see the remake.
Right. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Freddy was always my favorite out of Freddy, Michael, and Jason. I've always been a Freddy guy. And that I was pretending to be kind of like a horror snob when it came out. So I like pushed back against it. I was like, nah, he's short, he's ugly, they try to make you sympathize with Freddy, all this stuff that like I had heard, but I never sat and watched it. So having sat and finally watched the remake, I appreciate it way more now because when the main characters, they have Nancy and Quentin, they're like vaguely 12th grade, like 11th grade, 12th grade, which is the age I was when the movie came out. So immediately I was taken right back to like, I was that kind of guy. I was Quentin in high school. So they're very likable teenage kids. And I like the way that they went about casting Freddy. I like the way that they portrayed Freddy because it was so different than Robert Englund, because they really kind of leaned into, were these kids right? Are they making things up? Are their parents making things up? Did this innocent guy get fucked over and that's why he's coming back to kill these kids? So it was a really fresh take while still having some of the key elements. A lot of really great visual cues back to the original, but still enough to make it its own complete fresh thing.
I was always concerned that, like, since the performance was so different from what really made Nightmare on Elm Street to begin with, because you look at that franchise and it's very like Robert Englund's franchise.
Yeah.
So for him to have like someone else kind of come into that role, it's always very concerning that like they'll either have to try and become or be what was there previously, or they'll take in a direction that people just don't like because we'll just bring back, the guy we like because that's what we're used to. And it seems to work okay in this film.
Yeah. The big thing that differentiates them is so in the original classic Wes Craven Nightmare on Elm Streets, they paint Freddy completely as a child murderer, and there's a little bit of like pedophilic stuff here and there, but it's very, as far as that goes, they really just focus on the murder. In this, they very much dance around and play around straight up with the term pedophile. They really lean into that as a concept. And that in and of itself, I think, is what made it easier to see this as a different Freddy. Because while a lot of the core things are the same, leaning into that aspect and using the potential subtlety of that situation in regards to the kids and their connection to him and the preschool, I think was an excellent way to differentiate the two and really did make me enjoy the difference.
Yeah, because the original Freddy, like to a certain extent, he got so popular in those movies that like he was what you went to see the movie for at a certain point. And to have it be like, no, he's a scumbag. We're not dancing around that particular. We're dancing a little bit closer on this issue than we were before. So that he's not the guy you're rooting for anymore. This isn't like, watching Freddy kill the dumb teenagers movie. So like that's interesting.
No, I agree. I think that actually I would say that might be one of the reasons why this movie didn't do as well, or at least it didn't generate a million sequels, because honestly, like, you've got a huge fan base like, I'm not criticizing the remake, but if you've got a huge, this is kind of haunts reboots. Is a lot of times people will reboot something and change something so fundamental to the movie that you're like, who is this for?
Yeah.
Uh, who was so fascinated by this particular genre that, or this movie or this franchise, but didn't get it. So I don't know, painting Freddy as a pedophile, I could see why people would be like, nope, not interested. Freddy was somebody I kind of rooted for and thought was hilarious. I don't know if I want to see this person as a pure
Yeah.
monster. I mean, it could work, it can not work. I get it, but I also get why you're not seeing a sequel to that one.
Because I definitely, again, when the movie came out, I was very much Camp Freddy. I was like, I don't want to see a movie where it's like trying to make you sympathize with like maybe he wasn't a monster, maybe he was, you know, and like because the movie does lean a bit into that where the kids are wondering, hey, did he do this or did our parents fuck up?
That's cool. Actually, you know what? So when I saw the Evil Dead remake from around the same period, I'm a huge Evil Dead fan of the original trilogy. When I saw the Evil Dead remake, they reimagined it, made it much more horror oriented instead of horror comedy. But like I could appreciate it separately from the originals. So I think you might be going through. Like I guess that's what you were going through as well. So it's interesting that Evil Dead is the next thing you went through.
Because I haven't seen the Evil Dead remake yet, because I'm a big Dead by Daylight fan. So, and I've always been around Ash and pop culture, and I've seen like half of the Evil Dead 2 beforehand. But one day I was just having like a really rough day in the middle of quarantine, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sit, I'm gonna cram all three of them. Only to find out that I had to watch one on Netflix, one on Hulu, and then one on Amazon Prime because they're all divided out. But it was single-handedly one of the best things I could have done because it's a little slow by modern standards. But once the comedy kicks in, and once Bruce Campbell really decides how he wants to take the character of Ash, they're good. They're fantastic.
There was also a ramp up of action in those movies that are just like really good because it starts off in that first one, and the second one there's finally some like actual Ash kicking ass as opposed to him just getting beat up in the first one. Then he's like proper hero in the third film, so you're like watching his rise from being kind of a loser to being a genuine action hero,
but still a loser, just a little bit.
James.
James.
No, I think it's a super cool experience. I also was someone who, not during this, but came to obviously the Evil Dead films much later on, and I'm just surprised at how fastly likable they are. They're just really like once you fall into them, they're really worth it. On my late to the party list is the TV series from a few years back on Showtime. I know I got to get to.
Yeah, I got through the first season of it, and that was one I was in a phase of I don't want to rush things. I want to watch them like one episode at a time, and I couldn't stop with the TV show.
Oh, that's great. I didn't get a chance to watch all of the TV show, though. I love it. So here's the one thing where I feel the most old man is when I talk to other people who are obviously in their genre, same basic enjoyment from genre television as I do, but because they're, even if it's a few years younger than me, they're it's like a huge generational gap. Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, these movies were like icons. You had to see them. This is things you would watch at sleepovers. You would watch this in the dark with, like, if you could, on an old projector I used to have. Like, this was such a big iconic series for me. And that's kind of the reason why, Bruce is such an icon for everyone.
Yeah.
But like Bruce Campbell. And it shocks me that people haven't seen it, but I guess that's just going to happen more and more over time, especially as more and more genre TV gets made. You're going to just run into people who are like, you're a geek exactly like me, but we have not seen anything like each other. We have not watched the same materials at all. And it's kind of weird to me, but cool.
And I think one of the great things about Evil Dead that I understood, like, as I watched them, and then I did a lot of like reading up on it, is I feel like, because you did have a film major, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then I can definitely see how something like that would definitely be something to like, especially if you enjoy horror, if you enjoy that kind of stuff, like these movies would be fantastic for that because it kind of started off as kind of a college project and then it developed into more and then just became this fantastic cultural thing. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's a cabin in the woods horror story. It's the shaky cam, right? It's not just
yeah.
Yep.
it's just baked into the way we tell stories these days, and it's a bunch of kids going out in the woods making a horror movie, and it's somehow blowing up. It's Clerks but with horror. It's the dream.
Yeah.
And it works so well. Like all of these really cool, interesting tricks that they did, like it was that proof that like anybody can make a movie. It wasn't just like you mentioned Clerks, and Clerks being like Clerks didn't have to like rise on its dialogue, but this proved that like listen, we have all these cool effects that cost $1.50 that we were able to get off and we were able to do, and it looks legit. Like it looks like a real person movie, and it was proof anybody could do it. And like it's just really cool to see all of that like ingenuity on screen that made pulling it off very well.
I highly recommend Bruce Campbell's autobiography, If Chins Can Kill, Confessions of a B-Movie Star. It's really good. He does talk a lot about Evil Dead, of course, and about all the syrup they were coated with while they were making those movies, how disgusting the weather was and how it just baked out his skin. And all of this for
Was
some
it
reason
before
reminds me.
or after the TV show?
This was before the TV show, before the Evil
Got it.
Dead.
Okay.
By the time
Okay.
the Evil Dead TV show came around, I'm sure he had enough clout where he could limit the amount of like candied mucus that was spewed on him.
But the thing is, would he?
Yeah, that's the big question. For some reason, this feels like a perfect transition to James, even though he hasn't said anything. But I feel like whatever movie else he has to offer us, other than Citizen Kane.
So I did catch up on some cartoons. I went on a bit of a Gendry Tartakovsky foray. So I had actually been holding out on the last season of Samurai Jack. My mother and I had watched Samurai Jack together, the original 4 seasons, which was a show that was very important to us. But I finally got tired of waiting for my mother. So I did watch the last season of Samurai Jack, which I really enjoyed. It was cool, obviously, how it kind of toned up, right? The final season being something they released for Adult Swim,
Right.
aged with its audience, being, much more blood and gore and the innuendos and the jokes and the language all aged up, but while still keeping most of the sort of strong sensibilities the series had. On the negative, it kind of felt like a rush to finalize kind of the stuff that he didn't get to. It was very dialogue heavy. It had a lot of, fast pacing and introduced another kind of like long-term character in Jack's, the woman who kind of is sent to hunt Jack and then ends up becoming his friend. So I think that was satisfying but not perfect. And from there, I transitioned into Primal.
I've been waiting on Primal. Yeah, I just noticed it
Yeah.
on HBO Max, our sponsored partner on this podcast.
But yeah, and I think Primal really kind of almost filled the stuff I wanted from the aged up version of Samurai Jack. It's mostly silent. It uses that sort of very strong creative visual storytelling that he's known for, but obviously with new and original characters that don't feel like hamstrung that they're trying to complete a story that they had like 8 episodes to rush through. So yeah, and I really recommend. Obviously finishing Samurai Jack was great, but I really recommend Primal. I think it's just fantastic. It's beautiful to watch. It's beautifully written. It's its episodes range from being terrifying to compassionate to beautiful to
That's awesome.
the whole 9 yards.
It's fantastic.
James, do you also recommend to our listeners that they should not wait for your mother?
I do not recommend waiting for my mother to watch something. I'm sure we will revisit the final season of Samurai Jack together when we can gather again for long periods of time.
You heard it here first, podcast listeners. Do not wait for James's mother to get on that Breaking Bad rewatch. James, that's a good transition to my thing. So there's a lot of things I've been trying to catch up on and failing at because this has been a crazy year for me, for everyone really. But like, it's just surprisingly little time to watch television or movies. I guess I could talk briefly about getting caught up on the MonsterVerse. I should say that, right? Because just kind of a bookend. I did.
Like the original MonsterVerse?
No, God, no. Oh, God, no. But
no, me and my boyfriend are in the middle of that right now. Actually, we started that months ago, and we're still not finished.
Yeah, no. This was just the stuff leading up to Godzilla versus Kong. It was fine. That's it. If you want to know more about that, you could go to our fan club at Non-Productive.com /fan club. I think that'll work. It's on Facebook. It's whatever.
I don't think that's fair. I really like Kong Skull Island. I think it's a very enjoyable film. And that's it.
I agree. I liked Kong Skull Island was a good one. But like I said, if you want to find out more about it, join our fan club. Please talk to us because we're sick of talking to each other. But yeah, the thing I want to talk about, the way I said it was a good transition, is what I really caught up with, and it took me years on this one. I sat on it literally a decade. Adventure Time. I finally finished Adventure Time. So I started watching Adventure Time back in 2010 when it premiered, and it was just this weird little I remember the ads for it. It was, what time is it? Adventure Time. No explanation. A live action kid running down the streets dressed as Finn, who was a character you did not know, and I think he had a backpack or something that looked like Jake, and he's just like yelling at people like Billy on the Street. Like, it was ridiculous. I'm like, what is this show? And
I've never thought about it in that context, but you're incredibly true. That's right.
Thank you. So I watched a lot of the first season, and these are not Adult Swim. These are Cartoon Network shows, so there's like 40 episodes in a season because they're so short. And I watched a lot of it. And I'm like, this is the best show I have ever seen. I love this. And I think I may have piecemealed a few episodes in other seasons here and there. I never watched it regularly in its normal time slot. I just watched most of it because you don't really get the impression that there's anything other than a rich, beautiful, awesome show with a cool, interesting background until somewhere around the time where like Ice King starts losing his mind. And we get some of these background episodes of the history of Ooh. And I'm not going to spoil anything because none of this is about spoiling these very, very old shows and movies. But like, there's a specific episode early on, I think it's season 1, maybe 2, where Ice King is watching, or Finn and Jake are watching VHS tapes that are Ice King's video diary. And that you could see in the background as he's making them, as before he goes fully Ice King insane and magical powers, that this is the origin of how Ooh got to be Ooh. And I remember back in, I think around 2010 or 2011, I was like, this thing should be watched in order. This is a story that someone is sneaking in there, and I need to find out. And then it just blew up into such a huge thing with so many episodes. I never got around to watching it until this year. And I'm like, all right, it's over now. In fact, I think there's another spinoff of it that just recently...
They're doing like a series of short movies on HBO Max.
Yeah, on HBO Max. Every time we say HBO Max, take a drink of HBO Max water. Now with electrolytes. So yeah, I finally got down to watching it, and from the beginning, just because I don't know which episodes I had seen, I had piecemealed it early on, and it was so beautiful. The whole thing was wonderful. There was I think towards the middle, there was some of the most powerful episodes of television maybe I've ever seen, but I think it ended strong as well. And I just really, really, really enjoyed it.
Adventure Time, I think, Adventure Time is a great example of I don't know, that, and I don't want to like rag on people too much, but like that style of person who's like, I'm just not into cartoons, or, that's not just for me. Oh, that stupid thing my kids watch. I'm like, there is good story everywhere. like, do not close yourself off in a way where you could potentially miss it. And I think Adventure Time is that like perfect example, because if you just like glance at it,
it's
from
ridiculous.
the other side of the room every once in a while, it seems absolutely ridiculous. But like, you know, I've been there. I have sat there crying like a baby at episodes of Adventure Time, because the writing is just so sharp, the storytelling is just so good. And
I've actually shown, so I agree with you, James. I have actually shown this to a fair amount of people I over the years I've dated, and there's a 50-50 markup on success. So that's not quite true. Some people will watch this and be like, no, this is some cartoon crap. I don't like this. And other people are like, wow, this is amazing. I'm leaving you, Frank, but this is amazing. Thank you. And let's just say they've all made the correct decision in this. So I think we could all be happy with that. But no, I absolutely loved it. And you could see the DNA of it in so many other things, and so many other things, DNA's in it. So like, I grew up watching Thundar the Barbarian. So for me, fantasy in a post-apocalyptic future is perfect. So watching this was just amazing. It was just a great world building, great characterization, great animation. When they started getting very experimental towards the end of the run, just overall a joy to watch. Something I'd probably rewatch again after I get, I don't know, Steven Universe off my list, because I'm way behind on that too.
Gotta knock that off my list too.
We are famously late to the party.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're all caught up with all media. I mean, that's great. Tonight, at the time of this recording, we're going to be watching the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, also on our fan club, which you could find on the internet. I'm sorry, I just wanted to plug the fan club.
Falcon Winter Soldier is something I am technically late to the party in that I enjoyed WandaVision. I was enjoying the weekly episodes, and after WandaVision was over, I was like, you know what, 1 week isn't enough. I'm going to give it like 4 weeks, and then I'll watch Falcon Winter Soldier. And so I was doing one, I was like, I'll do one a week, but I started like last Friday. And then I was like, then by Tuesday, I was like, okay, I'll watch another. And then today I was like, I'll watch another. And I ended up watching 2. And then I've been sitting here after episode 4 and was like, I should just finish it. I gotta just finish it.
Get caught up.
I know it's there.
Yeah. It's weird. And like, when streaming became a big thing, I was like, episodic TV, who needs that? But now that we get a little bit of it back, I kind of enjoy it. I like being able to savor and pace things out and talk about it on our fan club. We have 2 sponsors on this podcast. It's HBO Max and our fan club.
So
HBO Max and Non-Pro.
Yeah.
I'd love to throw out one more cartoon I caught up on over the pandemic, if you guys are willing, in the same vein as kind of Adventure Time.
Go ahead, James.
Of course.
So, and it's a relatively newer series, and it's unfortunate because it didn't have a super long life. But it's something that a lot of people probably missed. It was a series called Infinity Train.
Yes. So this should be the after show, because we transitioned out so seamlessly, and because I'm halfway through Infinity Train, I love it. Oh, we got to do a show about Infinity Train.
It's so good. I will totally do a show with you about Infinity Train. So then let's hold this conversation to another time. But yeah, highly recommend. I'm really hoping that obviously a bunch of people will stumble onto this and this guy gets more work, because more great storytelling.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, guy from the regular show, but also just before we completely transition to make this commercial perfect, is that my babysitter came over and I was watching Infinity Train, who's my niece, and she was watching it and going like, "This sounds pretty good." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna restart it, season 1." I started it from season 1, and we got to season 2, but I played myself because now I can't finish watching it because I'm stuck at the end of season 2 and I have to wait for her. Ugh.
Frank, don't you got to take the James advice? Don't wait for your mother.
Right.
Wait. Real quick, to kind of tie back to the other sponsor, 3rd season began airing on HBO Max. So HBO Max once again has you when you get to the 3rd season.
They just dropped the entire 4th season.
Oh no!
This feels like the world's worst commercial. Like it's so obvious.
Like, guys, we were like, how many episodes are we advertising? Besides HBO Max, how many episodes are we advertising here? With a future Breaking Bad episode, our future Infinity Train episode, our future Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode. Guys, stay tuned. We're coming in with all these soon.
Well, not soon. We're late to the party. It's not going to be soon. It's going to be in another 3 years.
Yep.
Speed. Come on.
Hey, you don't want to know what the other ones I was gonna talk about.
Slow. It should be slowed for you because it took you so long.
Actually, I had a cliffhanger as my other late to the party film, and finally watching Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren.
What? We buried the lead on this. Al, you haven't seen Well, I guess this isn't like I haven't seen the 1984 Transformers movie, but still, this is close to Al sacrilege for me. Huh.
Yeah, I had never watched the Masters of the Universe film with Dolph Lundgren until like a couple weeks ago, when me and Nate sat down to watch it, because we were just kind of like, we got to see this movie, because it was on Amazon Prime, and we were just kind of like, let's chill out and watch Masters of the Universe. And that movie is, I mean, it's a movie.
Nate must have been so angry or overjoyed, right? Which one?
It was definitely a combination of the two, for sure.
Nice.
As there was so much, like, there's a lot of oddly great visual eye candy whenever you go to Eternia for like a hot minute, but it's only like 2 sets, and they milk those like sets for all they're worth.
It wasn't a reboot, but it was another one of those things where you're like, who is this for?
Yeah, who was that for?
Why
It was like, at no point does he like... And that was the big disappointing thing when we walked away from the movie. There's not a time where he picks up the sword and goes, "I have the power." It never happens. And it's like,
how did they not know that was a big selling point? Frank Langetta.
And there's a perfect scene for him to do it too, as he rips the sword out of the machine thing. And we're like, this is it. This is going to be the scene. And it doesn't happen.
Wow.
Oh, and they go to Earth, and it's just like, God, why?
The most boring place you could go, Earth. But for some reason,
but it's
vegan friends will appreciate this. Maybe I still vividly remember the scene where they eat fried chicken for the first time and are horrified about what they're doing. And I'm like, that must be what vegans feel like all the time, which is such a stupid yardstick to judge real human beings by. But hey, if you're a fan of Non-Pro and you're a vegan, know that for the longest time, every time I've interacted with you, I've been picturing Masters of the Universe, and like, that must be what it, because there's a part where they're like, what's these strange sticks that the meat is on, or that the food is on? And they're like, those are bones. And they're all horrified. Teela's horrified. And He-Man is horrified. Like, oh wow, they're all vegetarians or vegans. They don't eat. And 30 years later, it's still in my head. I have nowhere to transition off of this, folks. You need to pull out.
I will say, like,
I can't.
Frank Langina, like, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, gives the performance of a lifetime in that movie. And like, I've seen a few behind the scenes featurettes about it, where he talks about really being in love with that role and it being one of the favorite ones he's had, and just kind of like him being. And he's really upset about how he had a fight scene choreographed, and at the time he was really in shape, and he's like, wait, I don't get to take my shirt off and fight? Like, I was in shape. I want to remember a movie where I had a six-pack, guys.
He has the delivery of a man who is certain they're gonna fix it in post. He's just like, all right, don't worry about this. They're gonna make this makeup's a little weird, but they're gonna fix this in post, right? There's computer graphics now, right?
Yep.
Nope.
Oh man, like, absolutely 100% that was the performance he gave. And it's a great performance. Like, I will say, when the bad guys come to Earth in that like huge giant entourage moment, like, it's goofy, but in at least the best way possible. I don't know, something about that scene where Skeletor's on the throne and like you see people in their windows looking out of the street like, what the heck? Like, it's like really, like, I don't know. I think that's hysterical and awesome all at the same time. So that was a cool point in the movie for me. But like, God, I wish there's a couple, like, none of the show characters are in there, and they kill off like the only interesting looking bad guy like very quickly. He's like a lizard guy in a suit of armor, and it's
Yeah,
just like,
couldn't afford to have the camera on him for too long. It's
I mean, it's
obviously
true.
the scenes would show up. Oh man, if anybody who was listening to this podcast was playing some sort of bingo on what shows we would bring up and what television and what movies, your card is clean. There's no way you would have guessed anything. Any of the things we brought up. Breaking Bad coming soon. Ish.
Yeah. Whenever any of us get around to it, you know.
Yep. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for showing up and talking about all of the things that we've been late to the party on, and like, you know, we finally watched these like huge, big cultural like films, either for good or for ill, and like it was a joy getting to talk to everybody about it.
Of course, it was very fun hearing what everybody brought to the table.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
Good night, everybody.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.